Hey guys, Claudio Valdivia here with the Think Real Estate team. As usual, I am accompanied by my awesome co-host, Erica Osborne. Today we have a special guest speaker for the Investor Deep Dive, episode 7. Our guest is Joshua Benjamins. He is a local real estate investor here in Hampton Roads, was in the Navy for 25 years. This dude, before COVID-19 took place, he was on an investor panel that we hosted at our monthly meetup. Amazing dude. We every time I see this guy, has a smile on his face, super positive, a pleasure to be around. Josh,
he's also our local house hacker expert.
Sure.
We'll dive into that as well. Whoever I go to for house hacking advice and experience.
I definitely
welcome, Josh. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, no, thank you all for having me. Actually, when I first saw the title of y'all's deep dive forum here, I was like, wait a minute, how is a deep sea diver, Navy, active duty 25 years, not get the invite to this? But lucky number 7 episode called me, and here I am. So I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely awesome. Well, we will get right into it. Then you should actually, for your front page title, because I usually put a picture of somebody diving, send me a picture of you diving.
Okay.
I'll actually use your photo.
I got one right here that I'll show you. We can screenshot it. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, tell us where you started from tiny baby Josh. Where did you come from? How did you get here to Hampton Roads? And then we'll go into your investing.
Okay, I'll try to make it quick. So I was actually born in Chicago, Illinois. Parents spent 2 cold winters there, and we're like, nope, we're going back to California. So at the age of 2, my parents and my little newborn sister, who's 22 months behind me, all drove back out to California. Did a couple grades out there in Southern California. Then we moved eventually to San Diego, that's where I finished all my grade school, graduated high school. Upon graduating high school, I felt the need to go out and get some adventure in my life instead of just going straight to the college route. So I joined the military at a young age of 18, Great Lakes, Chicago. Then from graduating electrician's mate A school, I came here to Norfolk, Virginia area for my first duty station. I was on a big gray ship, did that for 3 years as an electrician. Saw the divers on the side of the boat, always working in and out of the water, sun's out, guns out mode. And I was like, wait a minute, what are those guys and how do I become one of those? So I found out, put in my dive school package, went down to dive school for 6 months down there in Panama City Beach, Florida, right there.
Nice place for dive school.
Spring break class era, which is probably the hardest part of dive school, staying out of Club La Vila. But anyways.
Been there, they took away a fake ID from me.
Got restationed back out here again for another 3 years over at Little Creek Base on another ship. And that's actually where I bought my first house upon my return. Primary residence, always knew I wanted to buy something. And so I ended up buying there. And that's kind of where I really started getting into real estate, because when I was stationed back, then I got stationed back in San Diego, and I knew I wanted to keep that house. So I turned it into a rental property, gave it to a property manager to rent out. And I kind of saw how they did it. And I learned from them, and I was like, I could do much better. So upon return to Virginia Beach again in 2005, I took back that property as my own rental, and then I bought another one. Step back a little bit, in San Diego, I also bought a house out there, primary residence, turned that into a rental. So here I am back in Virginia Beach, 2005, 2006, pre-crash. I have 5 real estate properties in my belt. And then it happened.
All right. Well, how did that affect you?
That's kind of my quick, easy, how I got back in and started investing heavily into real estate in Hampton Roads.
Josh,
go ahead, Claudia.
Josh, were you first generation military, or was your?
Actually, my grandfather was World War II POW actually, and my father was drafted into the Vietnam War.
Wow.
So both of them were not by choice. I was probably the first generation by choice.
It's very cool.
What a legacy though, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here you are, 2005. Have you been here in Hampton Roads since 2005? Were you able to stay here the remaining time in your career?
Yes, I was here. I've been here since 2005. Uh, but I should say that my jobs for the first 12 years that I was here, I was probably gone 150 to 200 days out of the year traveling, either deployments or TAD trips or whatever. So yes, I was here, but also I kind of wasn't. So.
All right. Well, again, give you more of a chance to get super rooted here in the community and kind of in with the real estate and the beat of what's happening. So, all right, 2005, you have 5 properties to you, right? What happens a few years later when poo hits the fan?
So basically my San Diego house, little story of that one, I bought it for $330,000 in 2003. By 2004, it was worth well above 420. And I thought I was going to, be a millionaire by the age of 32. But when the crash happened, it dropped all the way back down to 190. And then I was thinking, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to be the most broke 32-year-old in the Navy. So, but we all know, I think we've heard, hold on to real estate, especially if you ever get something in California, just hold on to it. It'll yo-yo on a staircase. So I did have to pay a little bit of my own money into the rents. The rents went down also. So I was paying a little extra towards the rental, negative cash flow, I think we call that one. Some of the ones here in Virginia Beach, same thing. It was hard getting people to pay to cover the mortgage. But in my opinion, instead of putting money into a savings account, I put money into keeping the home that was worth, a bigger lump of money than what I put in the savings account. So that's kind of what I did. I augmented the rents. I sucked it up, never bought that motorcycle I wanted because my money went towards these properties to maintain them afloat. And now moving fast forward to today, they've all now are above water. The rental incomes have been able to be raised. So holding them and sacrificing those few years was well worth it, in my opinion.
Hey, that's awesome. You made it out.
Still have them all. So I definitely made them out. Yep.
You said something that was super important, and I don't want to breeze over it, right? So in real estate, time fixes all things. That's not the case in every investment, right? So if you're investing in the stock market, there's not the if you're investing in single stocks, there are not those opportunities where you say, hey, I'll just hold this until the company rebounds. They may never rebound, right? Like the Blockbusters, the order books, all these companies, that doesn't hold true. But in real estate, if you hold on to that long enough, it's going to bounce back and produce a result. It may be, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, but it's something that will self-correct. All you have to do is put yourself in a position to make sure that you're able to hold on to it, right? That is vital. And that's something that a lot of people, when they're looking at investing and they're looking at all the avenues that they have, they kind of breeze over that. Real estate is one of the only investments that you can hold on to. If you can hold on to it, it will always produce a desired result. So
I definitely agree with that. Yep.
All right, Josh, so what got you, all right, that first time you came back and bought your first house, what, did you house hack that house? And what kind of got your gears turning towards the real estate investment strategy for building future wealth?
I feel like I had more control with properties that I owned. I mean, I've definitely put money in the stock market. I definitely put money in 401ks and stuff like that. But like Claudio was saying, a company CEO and all them guys at Wall Street, they have so much more control of what they're doing with when your money's in there. With real estate, I found I could buy a home, primary residence, which really controls how I get into it. Super, super low payment, VA loan if I wanted to. I could control if I want to house hack it. I could put more people in each room or just maybe one roommate or how I want to deal with it. I got control of how I much rent I charged them. Even down to the chores of what guys did at some of these house hacks that I did, who did what. So I just felt more control over it. And I mean, let's say I owned 10 shares of Google. Yeah, that sounds cool. But, when you say you own 5 homes, people have that little more interest into your verbiage and what you talk about, stuff like that. So I kind of like that also. It sounded good to say, yeah, I have 5 rental properties than 5 shares of Google.
Which probably costs close to the same. All right. So starting out, I mean, a basic rental, you kind of not necessarily became an accidental landlord, but that first time you moved away, boom, now you're renting out your property in Hampton Roads. So your investing strategy, tell us how it's changed and morphed over time. Because I know that you've done traditional investments, then house hacking, then I believe in private lending, and now potentially capital raising. So I want you to bring me through the timeline of your real estate investing journey.
Okay. So yes, initially buying primary places to live and then owning it and then having control to where I could put people in there to help me pay that mortgage. So that's how it started. Then I went into rental mode because I had to. They made me leave the area. So I went to rental mode. And then I bought another primary home, put more people into it to help me pay. Then I bought a third home with the same thing, primary residence, put people in to help me pay, but over and over and over. Once I got to about 5 properties, that load was good enough for me. I know some people think $100 is their goal. 5, I think, was good enough. I think the tax write-off was enough for me to do. The management side was enough for me to do. So I figured single family homes, good enough. I'm good on that. Then once some of those homes got high enough equity to where I could start pulling some cash out, and the strategy behind cash out was before the crash, I had home lines of equity, and I saw once the crash happened, those houses went down in value. The banks were able to close my equity lines. So therefore, the new strategy I learned was, well, if you cash out refi, they can't technically take that cash back. So you always could have it in your grip. So that's what I changed. That's when I changed that strategy. So what I did was I pulled out $75,000 from my very first home that I bought back in '99, cash out refi. Mortgage was still being able to be covered by the the rent cover the new mortgage. But what I did was I took that $75,000 and then that's when I bought my first flip home, which was a small little thing out in Portsmouth, small pond. Can't hurt myself too much out there. So I flipped my first house, took that money, flipped another house, took that money along with, in the meantime, I was like, well, I need more than just the $75,000 to actually get back into Virginia Beach to flip, because that's where everyone tries to get the bigger pond. So then what I started doing was I started moving self-directed IRA money, or I should say Roth IRA money and a traditional Roth IRA into a self-directed IRA. So then I could start using money to do flips with that. Once I started doing the flips, I started going to a lot more meetings, and that's when I found out about hard money lending. And hard money lending, in my opinion, the banker wears the suit, drives a nice car over the construction guy that's got the work truck and the dirty boots. So I started getting a little wiser in my older age now. I don't want to swing hammers all my life. I said, well, why don't I learn how to be a bank? So that's how I got into hard money. It was just much cleaner, not quite as much return, but a quarter of the work. And you could do multiples. Plus, flipping homes is localized, where hard money, you could take it anywhere you want to go. If you want to move, you just pull up your computer and let's go, let's move. We're flipping, or even rental properties, you're kind of tied to that area. You can't just pick up that home and go. So
yeah, your expertise is localized.
Exactly.
And hard money is across the board, so that makes a lot of sense.
Anywhere,
right,
everywhere.
So
exactly.
Is hard money where you're at right now?
That is my main focus. I'd say about 90%, 80% is hard money. And then every now and then I just finished up a flip I did. It kind of got pushed into my lap, and I said, fine, I'll take it.
If I have to flip this and make a profit.
If I have to, and honestly, I did make a great return. I utilized a contractor, 100% Class A contractor, and I'll tell you what, it's worth its weight in gold to utilize the professional people to get in there and knock it out. And they finished this house that was one of the worst of ones they've ever done, and they finished it in 2 months.
Ah, that's amazing. Yeah, when you find a contractor, somebody you can hook into and that you trust and is good to work with, man, they are definitely worth their weight.
Absolutely.
Worth their weight in gold. Hey,
Yes.
John, real quick before we breeze over this, the cash out refinance, and none of us on this video, on this vlog, web series are tax professionals.
Yep.
So I want to go ahead and preface that. But that $75,000 cash out refinance that you put in your pocket, what were your tax implications on that?
So the beautiful, beautiful thing about taking out loans is it's zero taxes at all. You get set, like I always ask everyone, how long would it take you to work, however many hours you work for however much you make, to make $75,000 piled up? And the whole journey building that 75K, you're going to just be getting knocked down with taxes. You're probably going to go and do another tax bracket trying to get there. So when you yank out 75K cash from basically taking it out as a loan, that 75K does not get taxed one little bit, and it's instant.
Who paid the loan back?
Who pays the loan back? So that's another beautiful thing. That new loan I have, so let's just say my old loan was $500, now it's $700. That extra $200 that is owed due back, the renters pay back the whole $200.
And that is the power of real estate. $75,000. Again, I'm not a tax professional. $75,000 without having to pay taxes in your pocket to go do whatever it is that you wanted to do. In your case, it was getting into flipping. In somebody else's case, it could be starting a restaurant, putting kids through college, whatever the situation is.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and when you cash out refi, especially right now, you could get sub 3% for a 30-year mortgage. So literally, you're taking money at 3% and you're pushing it into something that's going to return you 15. I tell everybody, if you could buy a pair of shoes for 3 and sell it for 15, how often would you do that? I would do it every day. But yet people don't think if I borrow at 15 and return at 15, they kind of fumble on that one, but it's the same thing.
That's the purpose of this education, is to highlight, what that looks like. Even if you took that $75,000 and you just slapped it in the stock market, mutual funds, right? The track record for the stock market over a 10-year period of time is 10% or better, right? So you're making 7% on the money that you borrow.
Positive 7%.
And the renter is paying down that mortgage.
That's the beauty of it all. Take your cash back and put it to work for you. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did.
I mean, especially nowadays, like I said, hard money, people are paying up to 15% for a 6-month period. Do that twice a year, do that 3 times a year. You start to blow that 3% you borrowed out of the bank. I mean, I'm trying to pull out every single 3% of money I can everywhere, out of my car if I could. Yeah. You got money I can borrow? Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Are you still self-managing your properties? I know that you mentioned the first property, or excuse me, not self-managing. The first property you put a property manager on there, and then you said you were managing properties. Are you self-managing all of your properties, or just a handful?
I did. Once I found out that I was going to be retiring out of the military, I figured, hey, I'm going to have plenty of time. That will be like my little fun thing to do, is just manage my property. So I started taking them all back. And I do have currently 4 of them here in Virginia Beach, all under my belt, 100%. The one in San Diego, I still use a property manager because she's been amazing. She was the buyer's agent when I bought it. Then when I left San Diego, she took it to control it for property management. And the flight to San Diego suddenly is a little bit expensive if something breaks. So it's just worth it to pay that. She only charges me 8% on that one. So it's a great relationship. And I'll let her have that probably forever. I probably won't ever take that one back from her. But yes, I do run my own property management. I feel I've learned enough on how to do it with my house hacking skills and my property management skills got my own leases, I've done evictions on my own. So yeah, I like the control.
All right, so for you, because I know, again, house hacking has been a strategy of yours, on your properties, do you have people renting rooms or do you have people renting the whole house?
Both.
All
I
right,
do.
so how do you manage each of the, how does the management go for each of those? And because I know a lot of people had a lot of questions on managing rooms for rent and what that looks like. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, yeah, so I do both. There's some of my properties where I have one person renting out the whole place, all however many rooms. Then there's other places that I kind of split, and I basically say, I'll put an ad out, room for rent. So they know that they're getting a room with shared common spaces. Sometimes those two people or three inside of a house don't get along, and you got to kind of mediate a little bit, but you basically let them know, like, this is my house, this is how I'm running it. If you don't want to live in these standards, then please put in your notice. You know, it's that simple. If you want your own place, then pay for the whole place. It's kind of how it is. So a little, now and then you have to intervene in some squabbles in between, into some house hacking situations, or if I'm living in the property, then whatever I say goes. That's just how it is. Yeah.
Right, so your separate leases.
Yeah.
Dictatorship. How are the leases different in room renting versus full house renting?
So what I usually do is I'll say on the lease, I am renting to blank person, the property of address, and then I'll put number A or number B for each room. So it clearly states that they are renting a room, and I just label it A or B is usually what I do.
And so do you use technically the same lease? You just identify the actual property and what they'll be, occupying differently?
Yes, I actually have tailored leases towards each property. Some properties are a condo, some places have a driveway, some places don't. So I went through and kind of scribbled out certain things, but overall the leases are very, very similar between renting a room and renting the whole place. Yes.
How do you determine what would make a good just single rental and what would make a good rental by the room?
I would say the area. So here at the oceanfront, where I have two condos, I'm able to rent rooms out from $750 to $850 each. If I was going to rent out the whole place, I would probably average about $600 per room. So that's a pretty substantial difference if I can get, $300 more because I just split the rooms and have to deal with a little bit of drama every now and then, but it stops real quick once I step in. I think it's worth it. But then now I have a place near Weston College in like the family neighborhood. That one I would probably, unless I did college students, but I haven't dabbled in there. Families like that one because it's 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. So families like that one better. And I feel it's just easier to get a family in there and just let them stay there for a few years than the quick turnaround of like the oceanfront condo rooms.
That's awesome. Josh, so you're former military, and I know the answer to this, but there's a lot of individuals that are part of our group that are military, that want to know, your early days when you were house hacking and you were in the Navy. What did the dynamic look like of the individuals that you were bringing into the house, and how did that play into everything? And let's talk about your BAH a little bit as well.
What was the last part?
Talk about your benefits, your BAH benefits.
Okay, yeah. So my first house that I ever bought, I think I was 22 years old. I got a big old re-enlistment bonus from re-enlisting into the Navy for another 4 years. And I took that money and used it for the closing costs, basically. But I did use a VA loan to get into it. So 0 money down. VA loan, super simple. Actually a great thing for starters. If you're first starting out to buy a home, I would tell every military member, just use it. If you can use it for a duplex, like if I kind of wish if I could go back, I would say bought a duplex instead of a single family home with my VA loan. But and then what I would do is guys on my command, you know, I think no one wants to live on a ship. No one wants to really live in the barracks, really. You know, we all want our freedom out in town to do what we want, not have to drive back on base or whatever. So I would hit up guys that I was stationed with and be like, hey man, you want to throw me like $300, you know, to live in a room with me at my place, and get a couple of those guys when my mortgage was only $400 because the house was literally $81,000 that I bought. I was already started making money off of my buddies, basically, you know. So that's kind of how I got into that. Eventually, once I didn't want to live with my buddies anymore or military members, then that would leave when we left, you know, because if you have a house full of 3 sailors, when the boat leaves, all the house is empty. So then I started thinking, well, why wouldn't I put we'll say civilian in my house, and then they're there when we're gone to maintain and watch it. So then I started reaching out via Craigslist, Zillow Manager, word of mouth, meet people that were just moving to the area and let them know I have a room. So then I just started reaching out to other people to stick into some of these rooms.
That's really smart. You're right. When the ship leaves, you guys go. That's kind of how it is.
Yep.
Us civilians have our purpose.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
nice
Yes.
to know that. All right. So when you talk about, Claudio mentioned BAH. So the thing about a house hack that I really want to drive home here is that everybody wins, meaning the homeowner wins and the renters even win, because the whole goal is everybody living under their means. So that then you can pocket that delta between your BAH and your living expenses, right?
Absolutely.
So for you on that first, you know, I don't know what BAHs were at that point in time, but you know, what was your BAH and what were you?
Yeah, I've actually, well, I think you all know I'm like this Excel freaking nerd, but I technically have like all the way back from like 2000, probably 4 or even 3. My LES is in an Excel spreadsheet. It's really
Oh my
quick.
gosh, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. So if I had to guess, just picturing in my head back then, I think BH back then was like maybe $700 for my pay grade, and you know, I would guess $700 BH.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that though, and you had mentioned, you know, your mortgage payment example being if it was around like $400, a buddy rents a room for $300. Even if that's the only buddy at that point in time, I mean, you're technically pocketing around, you know, 300 for you, it would have been more like probably $600 a month from your BAH so you didn't have to pay. And he was still pocketing, you know, right around $300 to $400 as well. So that's why it's a win-win no matter what side of the house hack you're on. Yes, the person who owns the house is also getting that principal pay down 10-4. But yeah, just being in with buddies on a house hack. And some people don't know that, you know, you can actually go into a property together. Like 2 guys with a VA eligibility could pop into a house together and house hack together if they really liked each other, and it was going to be a very long relationship, of course.
Forever.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that strategy. So a lot of the divers that were in Hawaii, those houses are not there's nothing out there for $81,000 we could do on your own. They were in the $600,000 range. So yes, we would hear that those guys would get 3 different individual sailors to all go in on a $600,000 house, basically do a $200,000 loan each, and all 3 of them would own a home together in Hawaii.
I mean, think about it. Later in life, if they don't end up in Hawaii, they all have a vacation home if they've held on to it long enough. You know, and it's not like property values are going down in Hawaii.
Absolutely. Usually what happens is one of them says, oh, I'm going to get married, buys out the other 2,
right.
and then next thing you know, it's a family home now. So
of course,
man, those walls could talk.
VA loan is such an amazing product. Like the only thing that I caution individuals that qualify for that loan is to make sure that you're going to hold it for a period of time, because you're going in there without having to put down the down payment. But it's an amazing benefit to our military folks, and it's a well-deserved it's a well-deserved, I don't even want to call it a gift, a benefit.
Yeah, it's a perk.
Service.
Definitely.
So,
but you have to look out, and I talk to my clients about that VA funding fee. you know, the hold period, like Claudia said, has to make up for that VA funding fee on there. So as long as all is well and your overall payment, you know, looks good on it, then it's good to go. But
I mean, not to downplay it, but in my opinion, I definitely used it when I was younger. But it to me, especially now that I just buy houses cash, or I sell flips, I see a VA loan application come in front of me or an offer and a conventional. I hate to say it, but I usually go for the conventional. So I caution everyone, use your VA when you first start out, but eventually try to get off the training wheels.
can you explain to us a little bit as to why you look at those offers differently?
So as a home flipper, when you go ahead and put your brand new product out on the market and you get a VA loan and you're trying to get top dollar for it, like I'll just use the numbers that I'm currently working with right now. We got to offer a VA offer for $300,000, but the whole neighborhood, there was nothing for $300,000. So a VA appraiser is pretty strict on how high they'll go with that appraisal. So you got to worry about that. Where a conventional appraiser is a little bit less strict. Plus, the people are putting about 5% down towards the home, so it doesn't have to appraise at 300 because that 5% gives you wiggle room to where if it appraises a little lower, the 5% they bring into the offer covers that gap that you might play with. So as a home seller, when you see a VA offer, we kind of shy away from them if we have a conventional or a cash buyer. The VA is going to be the last on the list to be picked. So again, I kind of say use it when you're young, when you need it, but try to get off of it as soon as you can. Absolutely.
All right, do you still have, is that first house still, like where is your VA eligibility being used right now, or is it not?
No, I cleared all VA eligibility. So maybe eventually I'll use it. But again, if I could buy a house for, say they have it up for sale for $85,000 and I could offer $60K cash, vice saying, oh, I have a VA loan that I want to do and offer them $79K, I'm going to go with cash all day long just because it's cleaner, easier, and I get a way bigger discount. So again, I don't need to put training wheels on to buy homes anymore.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that in your back pocket if you go somewhere and that's what you want to use. So
It is. Yep.
The oceanfront property that, because now they took away the limits, right? So you go out there and put that $2 million offer out on a Virginia Beach oceanfront unit.
Yes, you could. That's I would say probably if I was going to do it, I would use my VA loan for a fourplex. Might be what I would use it for. But now I'm even in the stage of I don't even want to build a fourplex. I want to do 16, 20 or plus.
well, the problem is too, all the sellers are selling everything as is. And any of the multis I've seen come on the market won't pass a VA appraisal. And the sellers don't want to do anything to it. And so
just by the limits you. So the sooner you get away from it, then the better. I think that's just my opinion.
No, I think that's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, based off of our conversation so far, it seems like you're hitting home run after home run after home run. You've never had a deal go south, have you?
I saw that question. I'm like, I don't really think I've ever had a bad, I won't ever admit to a bad deal because I think every deal, no matter how bad it is or how much you didn't make from it, you learned so much from it what I do is I just say, well, I didn't make any money on it, or maybe I lost some, but I write it off as education.
I paid for my education.
Exactly. I mean, I went to college eventually and had the Navy, the military pay for it through this TA assistant. So I got my degree, but I think most people think it's okay to walk out of college with $100K of debt on your belt. That can never be just bankrupt out or taken away. You literally have to pay it. So when I lose some money, say like 10K on a bad deal or whatever, that I'm still well ahead of, I think, most traditionally educated people.
All right, well, why don't you tell us then, what's the most you've paid for your education in a deal, and a little bit of details about that expensive education?
Okay, so the San Diego house, right? Bought it for 330. A few months later, I mean, it was already hitting like 400K, but then it dropped. So I was paying at one point, because of course back then you bought everything on a 3-year arm. I mean, you just, ninja loans, we call them, right? You just wrote your name on a line, you bought a house. So at one point, my adjustables were starting just to creep up, creep up. Every 6 months, they would keep going up and up and up. So at one point, I was paying about $1,200 out of pocket to augment the rent to cover the mortgage. I mean, we were getting up into like the $3,000 monthly mortgage, and rent at that time was, I think, 1,300-ish. Plus taxes, plus property management fees, plus insurance. I mean, so I was paying about $1,000 to $1,200 at one point a month of my own money to keep this house afloat. Um, Now that sounds horrible. Most people are like, oh, I would have cashed out. I would have sold it. I would have short sailed it. I would have done whatever. Just that ship was sinking and I didn't want to bail it out. But as a deep sea diver, I know how to salvage some stuff. I could pull some boats and sinking ships. I know how to save them. So I just did in real life. I just kept bailing out, bailing out. And then now I was able to refinance it, pull some money out of it, mortgage is covered, and now I'm positive about, let's say, 800, 900 a month.
Awesome.
How
So
long,
this
how long
is
did you, how long did you have to feed the beast?
A few years. that was my boat fund. Yeah. It
So how did you do that? Like if somebody finds themselves in that unfortunate situation, and your situation was caused by the 2008 meltdown, right?
Yes.
But if somebody finds themselves in that situation, go drive Uber to make sure that you hold on to this thing. Like, what's the plan
So
to get
what
clear?
I would just I would hit house hacking a little bit more hardcore.
Okay.
After a while, people they would kind of laugh at me a little bit, like, dude, you're how old and you still have roommates? But that was me getting a bigger bucket of water, bailing this sinking ship out. It's what I did. At one point, I mean, this is recently, you'll know, because we just had bird scooters out here. At one point, I was running around grabbing them and charging them, making, $100, $200 extra a couple weeks. I mean, just something to do. Never got into the Uber thing, but what whatever I could do. If I had to
you're a
take
side hustler, Josh. Make it
oh
happen.
yeah, oh yeah, that's my last name, Benjamin's. Um, if I had to take a extra couple trips with the Navy, a little TAD money extra, leave for a little, be gone for a little bit longer to save up some money, then I would do it. But I did whatever means possible to not have to short sale or not have to claim any sort of bankruptcy or anything, but just to save this venture that I put my name on and I knew I was going to write it out. So
We talked about earlier, right? Time fixes all things in real estate. But how did you? What was the vision there? Like, what was the forethought of? I'm just going to continue to feed this thing until something breaks. Like, how did you identify that this was a property that was worth saving? Just the fact that it was in California, or what?
well, actually, the best thing about what you can do with real estate and all of us is just talk, right? Like just talk it out. So I remember this was 2002. I was sitting in at work, sitting around a dive chamber, and one of the guys was telling a story about, he was kind of making fun of his ex-wife because when they were getting divorced, the house that they lived in, she was like, we have to sell it. We have to sell it. And he's like, why would we sell it? We're negative 40K on it. We would both have to pay money. Let's just wait. She was like, no, 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 no. So he goes, whatever. So he was able to buy her out at a negative cost. And then he said, eventually, 4 years later, the house skyrocketed up because that's what California market does and real estate in general does. And I remember hearing this, and that planted the seed that if you ever get underwater in a property, whether in California or pretty much anywhere real estate wise, you just hold on to it. It comes up eventually. And so that little conversation I just remember hearing in 2000-ish planted my feet strong enough to where I was able to save my property over all those years. Just that small conversation. So I always tell everyone,
All little
the more you
nugget,
talk
man.
about it, the more you listen, we got 2 of these and 1 of these. The more you listen and hear other people's stories, it gives you hope that I could do it too.
Makes sense. Makes
Yep.
so. And I want to just speak to the audience for a second. Like, don't let one burning house take down the entire city, right? But if you can manage the blaze and hold on long enough without letting the entire city go up a flame, then it'll work out in the end.
Well, it's long term. Everybody wants what's happening short term, how to make the most money short term. But here we are, 25 years later down your career,
Yep.
and you still have all these things that you've collected along the way that are now, along with your retirement, of course, are feeding the beast of your retirement life.
Yeah.
So all of that work, like you said, a little sacrifice during that time, no boat, no motorcycle that you wanted, but I'm sure still living a flashy enough life, around. But yeah, it was the sacrifice, and man, now it pays off for you for sure.
It truly is the story of the tortoise and the hare. You just steady, 1,000 baby steps get you somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. And that persistence and the grit that you had, during that period of time, just freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right, what's your favorite deal you've done?
So my favorite deal is actually the one that I'm I just am about to finish up. We closed July 15th on it, just past the home inspection, blah, blah. So the numbers on that are, I'll just kind of throw it out there. It was a probate sale. Got the call saying, hey, this was going to go out for sale. You want to throw cash on it? It'll probably only
Who did you get that call from?
a friend realtor of mine. Yep. So Virginia Beach off Rosemont Road, South Plaza Trail, those homes back there, $123,000, or went on for $115 was the offer. I ended up getting it for $123,000. Then I put probably close to $100,000 in this thing because I used the quality contractor out in this area. Am I allowed to say his name?
Go for it.
Okay.
If you want to,
Whoever you want.
I think everyone needs to know this. Again, you could buy a Honda Civic or you could buy a Mercedes. There's one more than quality, right? This guy is literally the Mercedes of Virginia Beach. Cova Property Groups knocked out this home that I thought for sure we were going to do 3 months minimum. He knocked it out in less than 2 months, put it on the market in 96 hours, put it on the market for $289. In 96 hours, we got a $10K over offer price with 0 CCA, closing cost assistance for the newbies.
Yeah.
So full, and it was honestly because this place was beautiful. Another story behind that is the daughter who was raised there because her mother passed away in it, came back to see the home and did a walkthrough. She literally broke out in tears on how beautiful this house has become.
Oh, that's so sweet.
From what it was. Like when I say from what it was, there was 4 dogs living there on their own. They would come and let them out every now and then. I mean, the walls were tore up. It took literally the whole 2 months to make the place stop smelling. That's how bad it was. They ran the ozone purifier thing for 2 weekends over the period of time. And they finally got the smell out on like the last 2 weeks. So
how'd you find that deal? Did you say that was one that landed on you?
The friend realtor heard it was going on the market. So the probate lawyer contacted them all and said, hey, I need to sell this house quickly. He got wind of that, let me know about it, and then I was able to put a bid in.
Awesome.
Good
So
stuff.
it pays a lot on who you know in this business.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the fact that, I mean, it's kind of like a win-win-win there. And plus it's really touching. The daughter got to come back and see it in all of its glory and, and what it is now. That's very sweet.
Yep. It was
How do you fund that one?
That's my grand slam one right there for now. Yep.
I
That's
like that.
my latest deal. So
Josh, how did you fund that one?
that one was all my own cash. Actually, I did 100% of my own money on that one. Yep.
Right.
Instead of pushing my money out to the hard money world, I held some back, and I was able to fund this home with that. So again, it goes back to the 75K that I pulled out. I flipped one home, flipped another, and then boom, here I am using that money into this third one. And third one was the charm on this one.
Yeah, you kept growing your pot.
Yep, growing the pot, and then used some other money that I pulled out, some other accounts and everything like that. So, oh yeah.
Right. So how do you usually find your deals? Is it word of mouth, your realtor friends, connections? How do you normally find them?
So the last 3 deals that I found on my own, that I did my own flips, yeah, I just hit up realtors and I said, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. These are the square footage, the 1 bedrooms or the 1 bathrooms that I could turn into a 2, just whatever I wanted. And I basically said, go. And so far they found me deals, and I always promise them, whoever brings me the deal, they get to sell it. So once you start, rewarding them for this, they bring you more deals. So, and then with the hard money, those contractors or those investors find their own deals, and they just bring me the request of, hey, I need this much money. So then I just get to see those deals. So it's good to, every now and then I ask them how they find their deals. Same thing.
Oh, it's nice to know. It's nice to keep a beat on where people are finding stuff.
Exactly. So
how do you analyze a deal for yourself, and how do you analyze a deal that an investor brings you for hard money?
So I got an amazing spreadsheet calculator that all I need
yourself. Excel.
I complete, because every time I'd get someone to call me, I'd write it out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, why do I keep writing it out? So I just wanted a quick, easy calculator. I throw the 3 numbers in it: ARV, purchase price, and rehab construction. With those 3 numbers, it completely says how much they'll make when they sell the house, like walk away profit. Like it just calculates it. So that's what I do. And then when I do my own, I do the same thing. I put in my numbers minus the hard money cost, and I could see how much money I'll pull out of the deal when I sell it.
Now for you, for people who are looking, for hard money, how do you like people to present deals to you?
So I again made a whole deal summary sheet that asks for everything: purchase price, rehab cost, even down to who your closing agent is, who your builder's insurance is going to be. It's kind of like I turned it in from an application to a summary all in one sheet. I just send them that. They fill out the address and all the numbers on it, what they think's going to work. I put those numbers into my calculator, and if it's worthwhile, then I'll give them a call back. If it's not, then I'm like, sorry, I pass.
How detailed does somebody need to be in their construction costs before a deal to you?
So the details in the construction budget matter because that's how I do the draw schedule. So if you do $10,000 worth of construction or rehab, I'm going to want to see like a roof circled. I'm going to want to see windows installed. I'm going to want to see demo done. And then I look at the price for those 3 items. If they equal $10,000, I'll come out, verify it all got done, and boom, you get $10,000.
So when somebody submits to you though, like do they submit it on your summary sheet, right? They give you a summary sheet. How detailed does the construction have to be in that summary sheet? Should they have already had a contractor walk the property and give them a bid before submitting a deal to you? Or are you just looking for rough numbers and then you can solidify that before closing?
Yeah, on the deal summary sheet, there is a section I like for you to add additional documentation saying some sort of budget, contractor bid or something like that. If you've done a few of these before and you're like, dude, this is my 5th flip and I'm pretty sure this is going to be another $45,000 rehab just like the last 5 was, okay, I'm good with that. If you're like, this is my first flip, then yeah, go ahead and get me a contractor's bid itemized on what he's going to charge you for blah, blah. Then I could bounce it off like, I know what a kitchen costs now. I know what a bathroom costs now. I know what a roof costs. If I see something way out of line, then I'm like, dude, get another contractor. So, yep.
You got the wrong guy.
Right, because in my world with hard money nowadays, the only way I succeed is if they succeed.
Yeah.
So the more I kind of help them and get them to succeed on maybe their first or second one, then they'll most likely do it again. if someone fails on their first one, then they run and hide and they try a
Yeah,
new
they're
bank.
terrified.
So I need them to succeed. So I definitely help a lot of people succeed. Yep.
For some of the hard money lenders, they're lending this money out, and if it's an inexperienced or reckless investor that goes in there and they don't do what they said that they were going to do, the hard money lender will then take over the property and either sell it to another investor, or they'll finish the project themselves and realize the profits. Have you run into that? Have you done any of those deals?
So far the two oops that I had was one, contractor went bankrupt on his ventures. The beautiful thing about any hard money lending or any lending that you want to do is you get your name on the deed of trust. When this thing went to bankruptcy court, the deed of trust was like gold wrapped in platinum, given to me by Jesus himself. Like bankruptcy court cashed me out like that. Any other money I had tied into it, like bridge loans, well, I'm still waiting on that part. But deed of trust, recorded, is again gold wrapped in platinum. I mean, it's you want to do it. So that scenario, you're good. Everything worked out. The home got sold, and so when it sold, I got paid. The other one is if somebody starts going past the 6-month window, that is usually my terms. I tell everyone, dude, we're just not going to be friends after 6 months. It just doesn't. You're not going to like me. The percentages go so skyrocketed, it's almost illegal. And what I start doing is I say, hey, the interest you owed me, because I don't make them pay interest the whole 6 months or any payments. I say, you're going to start making me payments. So right now I do have one where they're starting to make payments towards the interest owed. And also I'm like, I need updated photos like weekly now. So I'm just a little bit more proactive with them than normally. That first 6 months you get, like, let me know when you need money, and then now we'll talk. Now it's like every week I want progress reports. So never had I to take anything back yet or sell it out yet. No. Yep. I had one guy, he wasn't going to finish, so he refinanced me out with a traditional bank. Since he had enough done in the home, they would lend him the money. So he hurried up and got refinanced out before he was.
He didn't want to. He didn't want to deal with.
He didn't want to see. He didn't want to see mad Josh.
So
Dealing
cash me out.
dealing with Joshua.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. What kind of technology do you use to either manage your properties, help analyze deals, like you said, your Excel sheet? What sort of technology do you use to help you along the way?
I'm old school Excel spreadsheet guy. I love, and then I use Quicken. Quicken is another program that I use to manage all my different money accounts. But yes, I love old school Quicken or Excel. That is my go-to.
I'm a fan as well. How long did it take you to put your spreadsheets like into place? And how often do you go in there and like toy around with your formulas and functions, or just?
Oh man, I hate to say it, but I'm probably in there at least every day. Just kind of looking at it, I'm like that dragon counting my coins in his lair.
So just picture you.
Yeah. Scrooge on
Christmas. In your giant pile.
Yeah. So I mean, this now is my job. I'm managing, a relatively big portfolio, and this is kind of what I do now on a daily. I don't go in the office anymore. I just, wherever I'm at, kick on my computer and play with the numbers a little bit, make sure I'm going in the right direction for the day, and then I'm done. So
go ahead.
Yeah, it's a progress though. I got the base of my Excel from buddies in the past, and I just kind of turned it into like a full-blown
wild wizardry after that, just building.
People are blown away when they see this thing. Yes.
Well, I look forward to seeing it sometime. As a self-proclaimed Excel nerd, I am constantly in my Excel spreadsheets playing around, rebuilding, building, stealing pieces from other people's spreadsheets. Yeah.
Good.
Josh, what does your team look like? Do you have? Are you one-man army, or what does that look like? Do you have any?
I try to do, I definitely do. Maybe one of my downfalls is I try to do everything on my own because again, I just like, in my opinion, no one does it as well as you do. Like it's just hard to find people that will. So my team nowadays currently is I got a couple other investors in my back pocket that are like basically feeding me money. Then I got a couple good contractors now that are utilizing the money. I got for my own personal flips, I have a couple good realtors that are finding me deals, and now one of the best, in my opinion, contractors that will do the work for me. And that's about that. I mean, then obviously what I do have though is I have plenty of like plumbers, electricians, odds and end guys just to do the random work for the rental properties. You know, guys that I
If
work
you're
with.
going to manage your own, you need to have those contacts.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. I mean, guys that I trust now to where I'm like, hey, I got a contractor's box on the door. The dryer's out at so and so house. Go over there and fix it. You know, send me the bill. Boom. Way less, you know, style of me having to go there, let them in and stuff like that. So once you build that rapport with people, that HVAC guys that you know, you could just, hey, every year just go and knock out the AC maintenance. You know, it allows you to be free from the day-to-day stuff.
Are you utilizing software for like maintenance calls and things like that since you're self-managing, or is that like you're just on the phone and connecting the individuals?
Yeah, again, so in the military, we have a thing called the planned maintenance system, which it says, hey, this generator needs to be oil change, like your car, basically, right? Your car needs an oil change every 5,000 miles or whatever. So again, Excel spreadsheet, house, and then the first column is like 3 columns is what needs to get done every month or two, like air filter change. And I have columns that say this house got done all the way down to AC units, you know, every year getting a maintenance on it. So again, spreadsheet, and I just update all those little wickets of what.
Emergency calls, the one-offs, you just handle. You just
Yeah,
take calls yourself.
yeah. I just usually what I do is I call, and if something's broken, I'll just make the phone call and have them fix it, or I'll have someone like termite guys. They go out every year and just do what they got to do. Like that's all just set in stone. So if I can, I set it up. If I don't, I just call as it comes in.
Okay.
Do my local guys. Yep. I just on iPhone you could swipe down. It says search. I push AC repair, and 3 names that I've been used before all come up, and I go down the list. You got time to do it tomorrow? No. You got time to go tomorrow? No. Can you go tomorrow? Yes. Cool. Go.
You got the job.
Yep.
All right, so you mentioned to us that the only thing I've heard you say that you would do different is potentially buy a duplex or something when you first started off. Is there anything else that you would do differently to kind of arrive to where you're at right now?
Um,
Or you would have done differently in your career thus far?
I guess maybe a couple of things that I could say that I would have done differently is, or one big thing is have a lump of cash saved up for those rainy days. You know, I mean, like prime example is just now we had this huge COVID scare, and then just things dip like crazy, and then here we are normal, pretty much normal again in, you know, like in the stock market. Like if you could have had just a big ball of cash to dump in there real quick, whatever. Real estate, I didn't see it really happening too much with this recent one, but obviously 2009 happened, everything went half price. And if you would have had, you know, that ball of cash so I think saving up and having a big old lump sum of money just ready to go. I mean, if you look at Warren Buffett right now, he's got like what, $70 billion or something just waiting in cash for something to happen. So very wise man, take after him, get some cash lined up, loaded, ready to go, wherever you can, but have it ready for when the opportunity strikes, because we'll see it again and again and again.
What would that percentage of savings rate be for, you know, a young Navy guy that's watching this for the first time? You tell him, hey, stash this amount of money or this percentage of your paycheck away as you're building your real estate business.
So my rule of thumb was always 10% no matter what, goes to like long-term savings, like Roth IRA or 401k or military TSP. Like 10% of your paychecks should always just get whisked away for you never to see till you're 65 years old. Like that's just a standard that I've always lived by. When I was living at home, my mom added the 10% tithe to the church, so that was whisked away right away when I was living at my mom's house. Then she said, well, oh, you owe this much on a credit card. Poof, bam, paid off my credit card. So I just got trained at a young age that when your paycheck comes in, it automatically goes to where it has to go. Then whatever's left is what you get to play with. So on that note, I've added 10% in of another 10% of that for this golden opportunity fund.
This kitty.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and believe me, no one that I've ever told this to has come back to me and been like, well, unfortunately I did save 10%. They all said, why didn't you tell me 15? Why didn't you tell me 20? So definitely you won't regret stashing away 10% of your money. I mean,
No.
Instead of buying a boat, find a friend that has a boat.
Yes, then you don't have to deal with the maintenance. Yes.
Here comes Josh again. He wants to get on my boat.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you just touched on, and again, not a financial guru, financial expert, but what you described was budgeting, right? Putting a certain percentage away, and what people end up, the challenge that people end up running into is that they don't. You said it, like they don't allocate the money to a certain thing, and then it's gone, right? So allocating 100% of the money that's coming in, whether it's through investments or through a W-2 paycheck, allocating those things to a certain thing so that you know where your money went. Even if the allocation is to, spending beer money for the weekend, like I spent $200 in beer money from my paycheck last week. That's where it went.
A lot of beer for the week.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
Back in the day.
But just to like give an example, like, hey, you have to know where your cash is going in order to be effective with money management.
I mean, budgeting is huge. I think there's a quote like, if you're not planning, you're planning to fail. Like, I mean, your stuff should be allocated that's coming in, no matter where it's going out, whether it's just going out to that 10%, 10 to 15 to 20% to sit there to build, for the future. Yeah, I'm all about budgeting.
Yeah, it's basically a habit. I mean, if you like a lot of the young sailors were like, well, I don't make as much as you. I can't put away $100 a month. I go, then start with 25. Just start, get that ball moving towards a habit that is going to make you more well off than if you don't start it. And they started with 25. Then next, on the first of every year, military gets a pay raise. I go, everybody change it to 50. To 50, you just got $100 pay raise, change it. And then 50 seemed okay because they started with 25. Yeah. So even if you could only save $5 a week, do it. Get the habit, get that norm. I had a mom that would grab me by the ear and make me do it when I was young.
I love that.
So I learned at a young age, but I talked to a lot of people in the military and they have no idea about making money go into a separate account the day they get paid. They just never, it's foreign language to them.
Well, our next kind of question, I feel like you just gave it, was, what would you tell your newbie self? You're kind of just, your beginner self. And you were already doing it, but it's kind of like your advice to beginners, who are looking to pop themselves into your shoes and, kind of follow your path a little bit, is that planning, budgeting, and allocating your funds and saving something for yourself. And really you're paying yourself first, because it's paying you for the long run. But do you have anything else that you would tell your newbie 1999 starting out Joshua self?
I mean, one of the big ones, and I could say this because I did it, but I always tell people, live the life that no one wants to live for the first 5-10 years so that you could have the life everybody wants for the rest of your life. So yeah, like I said, I never had a boat, never had a motorcycle, never had the big cool guy truck, I was very, very frugal a lot of years, and even got called out on it sometimes because people are like, well, you never come off that wallet. But I'm like, I do with what I have left over from stashing away my little, for rainy day funds. So I mean, I still had a lot of fun, but I would just tell everyone, dude, don't mind the critics. When you're sitting retired at age 43 like me, then they'll be asking you, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
And you'll have all the answers because all you did was just save up for a rainy day and live within your means. I mean, it's relatively simple, but that's what I would tell everyone. Just don't fall into the trap of you got to go get $100,000 debt in college. You got to buy that nice car. You got to buy the nice house. And next thing you know, you're $400,000 in debt and you're 24 years old. Like,
Yeah, it's the whole keeping up with the Joneses.
Narrative is we got to clear that air. Absolutely.
Hey,
All right. Claudia, go for it.
I was going to roll down to the next question. Books. Any recommendations? Any books that you've read along your real estate investing career or even your military career that just stuck with you and would be applicable to somebody that's watching?
I've read a lot of books, like a lot of just basic money management stuff, stuff about stock market stuff, a lot of real estate books. I mean, I'm old school, man. Carlton Sheets, like
Carlton Sheets. I loved Carlton.
I know I'm aging myself when I say that one, but I mean, nowadays books are almost too slow for me. It just is, we're just so instant information now. Like I just watch a lot of YouTube. I feel it's like kind of a book and visual also all in one, and you just get new content all the time. So I do a lot of,
YouTube University.
Yeah, YouTube University. I'm a big believer that you don't need to go spend $100,000 in school nowadays. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be something like a hustler. If you want to be a doctor and you need a certification, I get it. By all means, please. We need that also. But if you want to be your own boss and your own timeline, your own whatever, dude, YouTube has it all. I mean, real quick with how I got into hard money, I went to a real estate meeting once, saw a guy talk about hard money, and I was interested in that. So I said, hey man, can I just work for you for 6 months for free? Don't pay me nothing. Pay me with teaching me stuff. 3 months into it, he's like, dude, can I hire you? Like, that's all I did. Like, what college or what school or how many books would I read to learn that? Instead, I just jumped in his back pocket, followed him everywhere for 3 to 6 months, and I learned everything he had. He's been doing it for 20 years. Like, to me, that's priceless. You could almost do that in any industry nowadays. So
an apprentice program.
Yeah. Back pocket program. Take that dude, call me up, take me out to coffee. I'll tell you everything I know, no charge. That's how I am. I want everyone to be able to have all this. Absolutely.
Well, you're in a great position to do that and kind of take some younger beginner minds through your hard lending. You said you get the newer investors coming in and you can kind of school them a little bit on what they're doing and how to present their deals and how to actually run their numbers and stuff. So that's amazing. All right, you did books, right? You talked about YouTube. Well, what's your go-to like podcast or YouTube channel that you like to watch?
Lately I've kind of been laid off of it. I feel like I've gotten everything I needed so far, but honestly, for a while there, I was just a big Grant Cardone guy. I just liked his just aggressiveness of, the normal thing that you all thought was the only way to make money is just wrong. I really like that. I still like his multifamily ideas that he has, which completely makes sense to me. Let's see. There's a couple other guys. I can't really know their names right now, but anybody that could talk about ideas of how to, building sources of income. Anybody that talks about how to build a source of income, I'll listen to and I'll follow for a while. And once I get it, then it seems always they repeat themselves a little bit, so then I stop it. Bigger Pockets was huge. It definitely gave me a lot of different ideas of different people's strategies. So I did a lot of podcasts from Bigger Pockets. Just put it on the dashboard and drive to work and listen to it. Did a lot of that. felt like I got what I needed from there too. Then a lot of networking. I think sitting down face to face is kind of a thing that the new generations are starting not to do. But if you could sit down and talk face to face with someone every now and then and keep that rapport, that I would much rather do that all day long. You know?
Yeah, I'm a big face-to-face fan, even if it's mask to mask.
Yeah,
So
I know. This whole no meeting thing nowadays, I'm like, oh my goodness.
I know, it's killing me. Finally, I can start to go out and have coffees again, as long as there's appropriate seating available.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I miss that. All right, how can people find you if they want to get in on hard money? If they need a hard money lender, they kind of want to follow your story a little bit more. If they want to bug you with some questions about your journey, if they want a room for rent, how can people find you?
Yeah. So right now I got my own thing going with Home Port Capital. So homeportcapital@gmail.com. Just send me an email. Whatever you need, whatever you want, whatever I got plenty of time nowadays to meet up or we can chat. Now I know Zoom. This is my first Zoom too, so now I know how to do this thing. I'm like, it's like Skype but cooler. Okay, whatever. Again, yeah. So yeah, hit me up on that email at any time.
People can probably find you on, because you're on Bigger Pockets, right? So they can look you up on
Bigger
there.
Pockets also, yep.
Any Instagram?
I do have Instagram. J Benjamins is my, super easy. I'm on Instagram a little bit. So
Facebook, I'm sure.
Facebook, I don't really do, I kind of I'm old school. I got burnt on MySpace. So I was like,
oh my gosh, MySpace. Yes.
Yeah, no, again, super old school. But so Facebook, I never got into. Yeah, the email thing is probably the best thing. Or I don't know if I want to give out my phone number yet, but just, email me.
Oh, email's good. Email's good
Yeah.
enough. Homeport Capital, right? At Gmail.
Yep. Homeport Capital. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Claudio, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Josh, it's been a pleasure, man. You are awesome. I always love getting around you, like ball of energy, just an exciting dude to be around. Thank you for joining us today. This is episode 7 of the Investor Deep Dive series. Erica Osborne, my co-host, and myself. We're part of the Think Real Estate team. If you want to be a guest on our show, go ahead and send us an email, info@thinkreteam.com, info@reteam.com. We are local real estate investors here in Hampton Roads. We would love to chat with you and just to get to know your story. Appreciate you guys watching today. Thank you and have a great day. Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks.